So what I want us to do is to start becoming more conscious, start choosing things in a better way for ourselves, and start creating a life that's going to gear us to really take advantage of the opportunities that are going to show up for us in the years to come.
This podcast is brought to you by the Integrated Human. We work up, down, inside out to plug yourself into your potential. If you want to see what we are up to and what's next, sign up to our newsletter or follow us on social media. If you like what we are doing, we really appreciate it if you can like our post on social media and YouTube and help us grow.
All right. Welcome to the Big and Small Podcast. I'm Jason Shields and I'm big.
And I'm Marit Gabrielsen and I'm the tiny one.
We have a huge surprise for you today. Yep. We are being visited by the great and very present Dr. David Berceli. He is the discoverer of trauma and tension releasing exercises, has traveled the world, has worked with elite soldiers, refugees, victims of war,
mamas and papas,
doctors of chiropractic, athletes, everyday people, helping them find balance in their bodies and in their minds using the neurogenic tremor technique. David, welcome.
Thank you very much. It's a pleasure to be here with you both.
It's so cool. It's so cool to be visited by the great David.
We have spent now 2 weeks with you.
Yes. I've learned so much. Every one of our flow state events, I quote you, you've been a big part of my growth as a helper, caregiver, a person who sees people. And I've worked with the tremor technique for 15 years?
Yeah, almost 15 years now. Yeah. Yes, you've been very faithful and I've been really appreciative of that as well.
Oh, well, it's such a gift that you've discovered and given to humanity by traveling the world.
Yeah.
How many countries?
Probably about 30 countries, I think.
Yeah. And she's been responsible for holding the TRE, the trauma releasing exercise groups here in Vos. She's kind of spearheaded that for the last 15 years. And she's had hundreds of patients that have used it and had an amazing group feeling.
Right.
Like, have you noticed that when people do TRE in a group, that it's somehow creates a community? Or
yeah, without a doubt, everybody says they prefer doing it in a group.
Yeah.
And so in one sense, when we think about it, it's not just the group itself, but it's their intention is they're all together to look at themselves deeper.
Yeah.
And so you've got everybody walking in the door with a very specific intention of self-exploration. Then you put all those people in a room and there's a different feeling with that group. They're sincere, they're honest, they have integrity, and they're coming because they want to do their own work. That makes a group very, very different than people just coming in maybe to just do individual exercise and, make themselves healthy or something. These people want self-exploration, and it's pretty powerful. Also, Sieve has a way of supporting and evoking that in people as well, because as they go deeper, they need somebody solidly sort of acting as the container for that process. And so there's so much trust in her that is reciprocated by them being able to go deeper.
Yeah, because we met you first in Ängsbacka, because we've been on the Aesthetic Festival there.
Right.
Where we had 3 sessions between...
it was like over 200 people total.
In total, out. But one of the largest group we had in one was 60, 70, 80 people.
Right.
That's awesome.
And you commented that she was able to hold that room. And these were people that were new to the tremoring.
Right. They were new to tremoring, and that's odd enough in itself in terms of a physical sensation that they're not expecting. And they were from all over the place, so they didn't even know each other a lot. And so Steve was taking them through something very unusual, trying to explain it, and then giving them the experience. And I'm certain that they were able to give into it enough to really have a powerful and profound experience for themselves, because they felt so unconsciously safe, I think. she didn't do anything overtly to make them safe, but her voice, what she said, her demeanor, everything sort of spread out, and the group kind of had this feeling like, oh yeah, this woman is competent, I can trust her, I'm safe in her presence, even though I don't understand what she's doing, I'm going to go with it. And it was hugely successful for that reason. So her behavior helped to make those workshops successful.
So you would have, being a man who's spread Tiari through the world and given this gift to thousands of people, you would give her an A+.
Oh, for sure.
That's
yeah.
awesome.
It was a great pleasure for me to watch how she worked, because she inhabits it. It's her style. It's her personality. It's her way. I would do it completely different, just as effectively, but it was because I would go to my own style, my own way. That creates the safety and trust in people saying, oh, he's being himself. She was simply being herself, and that's why it worked so well. Oh. And so that indicates to me, which I'm happy to say, she does her own inner work, a lot of it.
Yes.
See, and because she does her own inner work, that exudes itself in the way she presents this strange technique, if you will, to people who have no idea what's going to go on, but yet all of a sudden it's like, well, I don't know anything she's saying. I don't understand what's going on. But boy, I really trust her. There's something about her. And I think as human beings, as Stephen Porges would say, we're co-regulating species.
That's it.
So my nervous system is regulating to whoever's in my room or in my environment. And everybody, because she was the focus in the presentation, everybody's nervous system was regulating towards hers.
Yes.
So if hers is calm and relaxed, their nervous system is getting a signal saying, you're safe, don't worry about it. Whatever she's doing, just follow, you're safe. And so that's how co-regulating species works.
Yeah.
I think for me, that what you said there, because I think it was you, Jason, that said it to me a while back, but we talk a lot about that if you're a therapist, and for me in this work that we're doing with Integrated Human, it drives me a lot to develop myself, because we say that a patient can never get better than the therapist.
Yes.
So we see that the more we develop, the more the people around us also develop, because it creates a space for it. So like you said, she's doing all the inner work, which creates then a bigger container.
Yeah.
And you know when people have done the work and if they're just saying the words.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a big difference in the feeling, and you can't put words on it.
Yes.
But you just feel it.
Exactly right. And I think that's important. People walked out of there saying, I don't know what she just did, but they were telling everybody else, you got to go.
Yeah.
I don't know what she said. I don't remember what she said. And it was odd what happened to us, but you got to go. And it was all because they had this feeling that this was wonderful. This was safe. This was great. Even though I don't know what she said. And I didn't understand the explanations maybe, and it didn't matter. So you're right. It's that they felt safe. That's what they're trying to communicate that doesn't have words, because it wasn't in what she said. It wasn't in the technique itself in some ways. It was just, you got to go hear this person. You got to go be near this person. You need to be around that person. Just be around them. That's the nervous system that's co-regulating. Because it's like, I don't care what they say. I want to be around that person. And that's what Steve exudes, actually.
Exactly. And they talk about that, flock mentality, and they often use that as a negative thing, that, it's like flock mentality and, herd mentality. But we co-regulate because we are a field. Our nervous systems connect. HeartMath talks about how the magnetic field of our heart spreads several meters to every side, and they actually commingle.
Right.
So when people are in that healing space, they heal and heal each other. They help magnify that feeling.
Right. Really, what they're recognizing is that I simply hold the space, and if my container's big enough and strong enough, it's a field that's inviting you to heal yourself. See, so we all heal ourselves. I'm not healing anybody, but I'm holding the container or the space that if their nervous system is safe enough and they feel comfortable enough, they can begin to heal, because they can expand their sort of consciousness and nervous system to my size, see? And so I'm just really staying there while they have the opportunity, because some people choose or not choose to heal. It might not be their time. They might not be ready for it, but the space is available if they are ready. And so what we saw happen with Steve was that she automatically within 5 minutes had created that space. So even people who came in who might have been cautious or confused or unaware what was going to happen, etc., she immediately made them feel like, oh, it doesn't matter if I don't understand it or I'm not aware of it or it's something that's unusual for me. I'm okay. I'm safe here to do it. And that's how they had their expansive experience.
Yeah.
But for our listeners that's out there, that's maybe been new to, because we talk about the tremoring technique a lot, but how would you explain what is it?
Okay.
For our dear listeners out there that do not understand what it is that we're talking about.
Okay. So it's really quite simple, because everybody will understand that when you get nervous or afraid, your body might start to tremor. Okay, so you'll feel it in your hands, or if I was nervous, you might hear it in my voice. My voice could quiver if I was giving a lecture to 1,000 people and I was nervous. Or if I'm standing in a lecture hall, my knees might shake. We have that phrase, at least in the United States, your knees are knocking, which means they're shaking back and forth, tremoring. But we unfortunately created a narrative that that's a bad thing. And in fact, that is nothing but a healthy nervous system discharging anxiety, basically. So if you think of the nervous system, that when it gets highly elevated, so the sympathetic nervous system gets strongly stimulated, the body immediately kicks in this tremor mechanism, say, oh, well, I'm going to downregulate a little bit because we're getting too high. So we're actually a self-regulating species, that we shouldn't be stuck in high anxiety. Our body knows how to reduce it, even as it starts to happen. Because sitting as an airport example, if they make an announcement saying the plane's delayed for 20 minutes, you can watch people's legs start to move. They start discharging immediately the anxiety around, oh no, I might miss my connecting flight, or the kids are acting up and I got to get on the plane. So we actually shake or move body parts very, very regularly. And that's nothing but the body moving the energy through us to discharge it out. That's what it's doing. So that TRE, tension and trauma releasing exercises, is a direct approach to actually assist that process, so that we can do it every day, because we can assist the body to downregulate its nervous system even when we didn't know it upregulated during the day. You're having a regular day, you drive to work, you're at work, or working with the kids at home, whatever. Your nervous system is still going up and down and up and down on all the little things that are happening. And so at the end of the day, all you have to do is lay down and activate the tremor mechanism through this simple process. And it actually downregulates your nervous system, helps put you to sleep. And it re-regulates the body for the next day.
Yeah.
It's sorry. It's a very fascinating technique, and we see a lot of and people usually when we talk about it, because we have courses in it, so you kind of understand what it is, and you learn the technique in a safe environment, and you can ask questions to a provider that has knowledge within the nervous system. And people are always afraid, but what if I can't do it?
Yeah.
That's the question I think I get most, is that, but what if I can't do it?
Yeah. That fascinates me too, because just think of what's behind that. What if I fail? And particularly if they really need something or want something to work for them and they have an insecurity about it. It's quite interesting, because first of all, what we're doing in TRE is we're all genetically encoded to do it. There's not one human being who can't tremor. That would be an impossibility.
Yeah, exactly. Because I usually say, well, I've been now to 30 courses, and I've never seen a person that can't do it. Yeah. And we were having dinner the other day, and you said, if I find that person that can't do it, I'm intrigued, because that's an alien.
Yeah, exactly. We finally found the aliens, and they are there.
It is. It's here.
That's
it's
it.
here.
Yeah.
Come on.
Come on.
Yeah. Do you would you like to have coffee in the back room?
Right,
You know,
exactly.
saying that, you know, you're afraid that you can't tremor is like saying you're afraid you can't breathe.
Right,
Yeah,
exactly.
You're afraid you can't beat your heart. It's going to happen.
Yeah. And what's really funny, and we were speaking the other day about this, is although it's a very complex process in the human body to generate this, it's not complicated for the human body. Mm-hmm. It's just complex because it includes the nervous system, neurology, the heart, the endocrine system. All of the systems work together. What we fail to realize is that the human organism in which we live is genetically designed to know that it's going to experience stress or trauma. It knows how to endure it, survive it, and now there's research suggesting we even evolve as a result of it. See? And so we're genetically encoded to do it. It's almost like we don't have to try. We just have to use all of the genetic encoding that's in us, so that the body has that chance of using every mechanism available to it to self-regulate, no matter what we may go through in life.
And one of those very important ideas is self-regulation and the ability for the body to come back to homeostasis, which is when it's high, it needs to come back to balance. And when it's low, it needs to be raised back up to balance.
Right.
So in chiropractic theory, in philosophy, they talk about tone, to find the appropriate tone. If you think of your body as a guitar string and it's stretched too tight, then it's not hitting the right tone. Mm-hmm. And then if you loosen it up and it becomes too loose, you're not hitting the right tone. It has to be just right. And life is a constant self-regulation game,
right,
to find that balance with the external world so that you maintain health. So that's what we talk about, you know, integrating yourself so that you can integrate yourself and find homeostasis and balance with the outside world.
Right. Mm-hmm. What's interesting is that we talk about that and people think, oh, well, I had a good week or I had a bad week or something like that. Literally, the more refined and sensitized we become, we discover that we go up and down all day long with our nervous system.
Yeah.
And that if we can feel it, it's almost like playful movement, and you can sense, okay, I'm a little high or I'm a little low, but you watch the body trying to regulate you through the day, and it does a very good job of it. The more in touch we are with our inner sense of self. So
Jason had to do a lot of work with me there. I was always when me and Jason started working, I still work a lot of black and white. I usually go black and white, and then I nuance them out.
Right.
Because black and white often, okay, there we go. I know kind of left and right, and then I can nuance it in. But in the beginning of a work, I was always, when I wake up and if it's a bad day, it's a bad day. And right. Jason tried to tell me that, no, it can't change. I'm like, nope. Cannot change. When I wake up and it's a bad day, it's a bad day. Usually I had bad days, so strangely enough. But being able to, with the process we've been doing, and be more in tune that, oh, there went up and there it went down. Yeah. And then you can adapt more also and do the right things and use a lot of self-regulation, so you can having a storm on the inside, but that doesn't have to reflect on the outside.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
That's it.
Yeah.
That's really beautiful.
I enjoyed you allowed me to work with you a couple of days ago.
Oh, it was amazing.
And
that was fun.
That was fun, but it was the same principle. It was like, oh, there's this big ball of energy in this woman, and it's wonderful to see, but can we find the softer, more gentle side inside that big ball of plasma going on? And you worked with me. You let yourself explore that. We were able to go very deep and find very specific patterns inside. It was
that night I went to bed, and I've heard about this because Steve usually tells, because people also, one of the second question we get on the courses is that, how do I know that it's not me doing it? And I say, well, because I try everything, I said, well, I tried to shake my hand for 30 minutes. I managed 2 minutes and then I was tired, but I can tremor for 30 minutes, no effort needed.
Exactly.
So I figured like that. And then Siva explains that she once fell asleep and woke up and was tremoring when she was waking up.
Still tremoring.
And still tremoring. And I'm like, okay, never had that experience myself.
Right.
But I went to bed after a session, and my husband, he worked in Bergen, so he was not at home. And it's 12 o'clock around that. And I'm like, oh, you know, in the phase when you're sleeping, but you're about to wake up.
Mm-hmm.
And I was laying there, I'm like, God, Teddy, the dog, I'm sure he was moving up and down.
Angel baby dog.
Angel baby dog. I was sure he was moving up and down and couldn't kind of find rest because the mattress kept moving. So I'm like, God damn it, Teddy, come on, find rest, come on. And then I realized it's not the dog. And then I live not too far from the railways. I'm like, it's the train. It's the train. And I'm like, it's not the train. And I'm like, what's going on? And I open my eyes and I move the cover and I look at my thigh and it's tremoring.
Yeah.
And I was just like, holy shit. It was such an amazing experience. And it was tremoring with such a, I can't even make the frequency.
You can't do it voluntarily.
The frequency was so quick, but so refined that I it's impossible. I can't make it with my hands even, right? It was, and I'm just like, put the cover back on. I'm gonna just let that happen. Go back to sleep. And the next day I had a new one because we worked a lot on my shoulders because I have a shoulder injury. And that kept tremoring the whole night. Really? It kept moving and doing like shrugs. I'm like, this is so fascinating.
Yeah.
And my sleep score, because we have this Aura rings on us, is super good.
Yeah.
So it doesn't, I was sleeping.
Right.
But the body was doing its thing.
It's still releasing
tension. It was
Yeah.
really cool.
Yeah. I love that because actually you can sleep because that's a nice parasympathetic response.
Yeah.
And that's when the tremor mechanism can do its own work the best, is that when you simply give in and you let go and you're in a nice parasympathetic state, then the tremor mechanism has permission in a sense to go around, do what it needs to do, realign the structure, actually release fascia or tightness or muscle groups and release it. And it gets a chance to do it all by itself. It does not need cognition because it doesn't come from the cortex, which is where our cognitive behavior comes from. It comes more from brainstem activity, which is controlling the heart rate and blood pressure and respiration, things like that. Yeah. Well, that's where the tremor mechanism comes from. So we don't have to think about our heart pumping. I'm talking to you right now. I'm not thinking about making sure my heart is still pumping. Well, the same thing with this tremor mechanism. We don't think about it. We don't have to. And our thoughts actually don't necessarily interfere with it. Now, we can interfere with it in the sense that this is what society does now. If you're out, and let's say you're even in a minor car accident, and you get out and you have to show the police officer your driver's license or whatever you have to show them, and you realize when you pull your wallet out, your hand is shaking because you're nervous. Now, you weren't injured in the car accident, but you certainly were startled by it, and it's very disturbing. And so you find that you're shaking. And the sad thing is, because of the current narrative, people will say, oh my God, I'm shaking. This is so bad. Let me go home and usually let me have a drink of, let me have some alcohol. Yeah. Let me take a pill to calm myself down. Do whatever I need to stop the shaking. And that's the worst thing in the world because the shaking, it started immediately after the car accident.
You actually shake it off.
Exactly right.
Shake it out.
Shake it off. That's the title of my third book, is Shake It Off Naturally. Mm-hmm. Because the body was already starting to heal itself. It didn't want to hold on to that startle response. It was a big surge of adrenaline. It's in high state of sympathetic charge. And immediately the body says, no, we don't need that. The accident's over. We're safe. And it will start to tremor, actually, to bring itself back into a normal state. You could actually restore that normalcy within half an hour of a high startled charge. And yet we'll carry it around for weeks and weeks.
Or years.
Or years, exactly.
And there's an interesting factor so that people don't misunderstand and so that they can get deeper insight into the tremor mechanism. When Marit's talking about waking up, having the tremor in her leg, it sounds like, the tremor's taking over. No, you can actually you can't actually stop it at any time you want. And that's a little bit the problem, because like you're saying, people don't want to, they don't want to show that weakness, and they basically block it with their cortex.
Right.
They stop that, and then they don't get that kind of freeing experience of self-regulation, or basically de-stressing, decompressing.
Right.
Right.
That's a great example. We stop that with the cortex the same way that we hold our breath or we breathe shallow.
Exactly.
We're doing that with the cortex. Same thing about particularly the emotion of crying. We don't like it. It makes us feel like we're weak or vulnerable, both men and women, unfortunately, now. And so we can control the diaphragm pulsation movement, which is what crying and laughter is. It's nothing but diaphragm pulsation. We can override our normal coping mechanisms, which is what damages us and distances us from internal sensitivity. We actually numb ourselves out.
That's it.
So we either do that with some sort of substance, or we can do it with the cortex overriding the natural mechanisms in the human body.
That's it. Could you just use a moment or 20,
all the moments you want,
all the moments, to talk a little bit about, give us some context for first your life, a little bit of your process of being David Berceli, but then moving into these arenas where you discovered the Tremor. You visited us in the Jiu-Jitsu club, and people are asking you about some of your experiences there. And I thought it was very beautiful. You're talking about that fetal position that people search for, and that, could you just talk a little bit about your background and how you found out about it? Because I think this is going to inspire people to really get their hands on your books, read, and involve themselves in TRE providers and TRE in general, because you're an inspiring human being. And
I will put the books in the bio and
so that people
in this
can,
podcast. So if you want the books, you just go in there.
Yeah, but it's fascinating.
Well, I'm deeply grateful, because I had a very rare opportunity that a lot of people don't have. I was working with a nonprofit organization, and I ended up in the Middle East and several countries in Africa, and sadly, those countries were going through war or political violence. So I lived through those experiences. But what fascinated me, of course, I had the same reaction everybody else did: fear and terror and anxiety. If there are bombs or mortar shells or tank shootouts going on and stuff like that, snipers. So I lived in that environment.
Sorry, I'm just smiling because you would tell a story about the sniper that you were running to school. I have to.
Yeah.
This guy, you're too humble. I'm saying I need to. You get deeper and deeper with this guy. You just go, holy, what has he done? You had this. You don't fear. I don't know if you have that in your vocabulary. You're so curious. I think your curiosity overrides your fear. Because we're telling you we're going because we're going to learn Arabic, right?
Right.
And it was in a war zone.
So that he can help people in a war zone. He's going to school to learn Arabic.
And then you said that you had a meeting with these guys, and you're going to meet this crossroad, and you knew it was a sniper up in like a skyscraper, like I don't know, not a couple of meters, but some meters up the street, and you would just time it and run, because you knew if you were running as a group, it would be much harder to shoot you guys.
Yeah, so they're like running across a street to get to school, avoiding a sniper who's literally shooting down the street, trying to hit people crossing the street to go study. People complain about going to school.
Yeah.
Like that's
it's just amazing.
Yeah.
Your curiosity for and your drive and ability to observe.
Right.
It's been really. I've learned a lot from you the last 2 weeks, and it's very inspirational to see how you communicate with people, because you find the tone of the people you talk to, and I have learned so much. Thank you so much. But you hear it in his voice. He's
Yeah.
so nice and caring and kind, but he's a badass.
Yeah, he'd run a street that has snipers shooting just to get to class, guys.
To learn Arabic to
Yeah.
help more people.
Yeah.
Now,
Yeah, sorry.
I will admit that was a little bit crazy, but
Yeah.
at the time it seemed normal and natural to do it. We had to get to school.
And it's like, you would think this happened once? No, this
Yeah.
is how they did it.
Yeah, people
That's
are like,
the
I have a
best.
sore throat, I'm not going to school. It's like, he's like, oh, there's a sniper. Okay, let's run in a group. Then we, at least some of us will get there.
Yeah.
Amazing. So,
amazing.
yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
I just had to tell that story. I
That's
thought it was
okay.
amazing.
Well, so the rare opportunity is that I lived both in my own body and with a whole community, a whole nation of people that were living at the edge of life and death every day.
Yeah.
You did not know if you were going to survive tomorrow. Well, if all of us knew that there was a very strong possibility when you're living in war that you might not be alive tomorrow, you really live today differently.
Yeah.
And so, although it wasn't necessarily consciously motivated, there was an unconscious motivation to live every day fully.
Yes.
Now that fascinated me, and I experienced that myself. We did not know if we would see our classmate tomorrow or not. But it wasn't something like sad that we cried about or whatever. It was just a reality.
Yeah.
And so we somehow adjusted to live in that reality. Now, having a background in clinical psychology and anatomy, I was so intrigued when I watched, eventually I began observing, how does the human body survive this? Different from the psyche. How does the human body survive it? And that's when I discovered the fetal reflex, which is very common. We know that here in all these countries we live in. If I just pull myself forward into a fetal position, if I get kicked in the gut or something like that, or if somebody's coming at you, even jokingly, they're going to punch you or something, you pull down, you pull forward into what's called the fetal response. And so, but I saw that over and over and over, and I thought, wow, the human body has mechanisms built in it to actually save the body.
Because you don't learn this in school. Like
Right.
when you hear that sound, you're going to pull together.
Right. They don't teach you in school to make sure you do the fetal response if somebody's shooting at you with a tank or something.
Exactly.
You know,
Yeah, but that's true.
And they
People don't know this, but there's only two inborn fears that we have. It's the fear of loud noises and the fear of falling. And not heights, but falling.
right.
Those are the two things that are hardwired. All the other fears we have are man-made. They are learned. So, and like David was saying, it was so beautiful. He said that you never see a person go into the upraised arm hallelujah position when a bomb goes off. Everybody pulls together. It's
Right.
just what happens.
Even
It's
the
an
person that
instinct.
shoots.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Goes
oh,
down.
absolutely. Yes, exactly. So that fetal position pulling forward, I just saw it a million times. And I thought, how do we know how to do that? And then I was asking the question, because I had it happen to me many times, what part of my brain is so precise and accurate that it can create that response in me in a split second? Well, it can't be the cortex. It would be too slow. I don't think it out. I don't think it through. So I thought, okay, it's got to be underneath the cortex, subcortical, has to be primitive part of the brain. It's a reflex reaction. And then I thought, well, what muscle pattern is specifically connected to that part of the brain? Because there's a whole series of muscles that goes all the way from the neck down to literally the knees, which is the end of that fetal response. But there's a whole bunch of muscles that have to connect to make that happen in a split second. And so that's when I thought, okay, what part of the brain, what muscle patterns? And then that's when I began to ask myself, what happens if we reverse that position? Extend it, hyperextend it actually. Are we indicating to the body that we're safe? And then what I discovered is, yes, when you hyperextend that position through the exercise position that we take, that tremor mechanism just comes right out of it. It begins to evoke itself naturally, almost like it's been waiting for us to send a signal through the body. We're safe now. You can go ahead, activate, and find the patterns in me that are still tight and release them for me.
Yeah.
And it does.
Yeah.
It does. That's
It
the
does,
fun
yeah.
part.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So in one sense, again, to go back, it's very complex in how the body does that. But for the body, it's not complicated at all.
Exactly.
It's genetically designed to do it. So, and this is real important for me, is to tell people this complex process in your body should be easily accessible. Everyone has a right to know that it's there. This is sort of what I insist on and why I teach around the world. If it's in your body and you're genetically encoded with it, you have a right to know it's in there. You have a right also to know how to access it by yourself without even needing me. That's why I put it, all the pictures in my books and everything. They have a right to access it. And they have a right to understand how to use it safely.
Yes.
Because if they have sort of severe traumas, let's say, anxiety may surface, or fear, or crying may come up. But, you don't need a therapist just because you cry. You might need somebody safe and comfortable who loves you, and just have them hold you while you cry. So it's genetically encoded in us. You have a right to know it. You have a right to free access of it. And you have a right to understand how to use it safely. See? And so I believe that every human person, because they're genetically encoded with it, should have this right. Here, it's yours. I try to give it to people, say, please take this, learn how to do it, because it's in you and it's part of you. Whether they want to use it or not is very different. But to make them aware and give them access to it, I think is invaluable. I think it's a human right that we do that for people.
Exactly. So when people are practicing TRE at home and maybe have learned it, through a book or online, when and why would you suggest that they actually take contact with a provider to help them continue their work?
Right. Great. That's one. I love that question, because a provider is trained to observe the body and see what it can do. Where can the tremor mechanisms move through the body, and where can they not move through the body? And they're trained to help facilitate the body by different postures or different interventions to assist that tremor mechanism to go through muscle patterns that might be too tight initially and they can't let go. Or what happens if it gets to the diaphragm and the diaphragm's too tight and they can't get it to come into their shoulders, as an example. So providers are trained to know how to help them help their body more. See? And so they can go deeper, because it's always like layered stuff. And the same thing, like when we were working with you, if we see really big, strong movement in the body, can it get very soft, gentle movement as well? Because it's a living organism and it needs the whole range. And if people only get very strong or very mild shaking or tremors in their body, can we figure out how to help it have bigger ones? Because it needs to move the structural muscles as well. See, and so it's about helping the individual learn how to use this mechanism as effectively as they can that's genetically encoded in them.
And that's very exciting, because in the integrated human, we talk about being total.
Yeah.
And
a total human being.
A total human being, meaning that you need to be full spectrum. You need to be able to express every vibration, every rhythm, everything that you need to in order to meet your environment. So like you were saying, that if your nervous system is only capable of very refined activity, or if it's only capable of very dynamic and big activity, then it may not be appropriately suited to meeting the environment. And that is almost the definition of trauma. Because trauma makes you ritualistic in your behaviors. It makes ritualistic avoidance. It makes you a little bit obsessive compulsive about certain behaviors. It basically limits the expression that you can have as a person. And as you start to release that, you become more full spectrum again. You become a total expressive human being again.
Right.
Yeah. That's the one. Again, we have courses and that Steve teaches in. And for me, that was very skeptical. I'm skeptical to everything. No, I'm trying everything.
Me too.
But I'm always asking questions. And for me, it helps a lot. She has like an hour lecture first, where she actually shows the nervous system and shows the, what's it called?
The brainstem.
Thank you.
Yeah.
The brainstem and how it works and what we're actually going to do. So for me, as a, at least before, very materialistic person, it helped me to kind of, but again, creating that space of safety that, okay, I can allow my body to do this. And I've heard it now 30 times. It's really good. And for me, when I started tremoring, this was really nice because I knew, okay, this is safe. It's in me, like you say. But to really understand and look at picture and get that knowledge, for me, was really crucial for trusting to like go into the tremors. But what I've seen in these a lot of courses is that people think that you have to have big tremors for it to be legit. That is one of the things that one of the third questions that we get a lot is that but I just tremor like a little bit. They don't. But after, and I've done both, but after the sessions with you, I'm like, hell yeah, I want to tremor small tremors. I want a small tremors now. I don't want just the big ones. And it opened up, when I had the session with you, really opened up like a whole nother world to be able to do both. I'm like, oh, wow. This, I can really use this now. Yeah. Not just as to getting out big overgoing energies, but actually work deep with it, and then have the discharge, and then work deep again, and to have that fluidity in it. It was for me, that was so amazing. But you wouldn't say that you need a big one for it to work, right? If you only say that I'm beginner, I've been doing theory 4 times, and I'm only getting but what I'm getting is small tremors. Not big body structural movement. Am I still doing it correctly?
Yeah, absolutely. What we have to recognize is that the body, as a living organism, pulsates. That's all it does. And sometimes that pulsation is very shallow, very delicate. You can almost not even feel it sometimes. It's even just with your breath or something. There are those moments when you lay down and you could just feel, my breath is very shallow, but it's not bad. It's just very, very shallow. And then other times the breath gets very big, and so our pulsation increases. Well, that just tells us the human organism, as sort of a big complex amoeba, it really just pulsates, and it needs everything from very delicate, refined pulsation to very big movement. It needs all of that, and like you said, then it can handle any situation that it finds itself in, because it has the full range of its potential of aliveness and defensiveness. See, and so that's all we're looking for, is to restore the body back to its fullest capacity, including, and it has to include this tremor mechanism as part of its genetic encoding. Just give it all of that, and it knows how to survive then, because it's got all its survival mechanisms activated.
That's excellent.
It's wonderful. I said, we had a session the other day. People love that you were there, David.
Okay.
And I said what I find so beautiful because when we talk about the integrated human, we said you're not your mind, you're not your emotions, you're not your body. One of the things that helped me understand that was not my body was the tremoring mechanism, because I'm not controlling it, it's moving its own way, and you're getting much more sensitive. And I find it combined, like I said to one of them, it's not put very nicely, but it's very direct. For me, theory digest all shit, and the flow states helps me get better, more nuanced filters, so that I don't take in a new shit.
Very good.
So with those combinations, that means that, like you said, that old trauma patterns can get out, the old tension patterns can get out, and I can use theory for more everyday release, like you said, like maintenance, because your nervous system is gonna go up and down. It's kind of like with emotions. Even if you learn that you have a total spectrum of emotion, you feel all of it, doesn't mean that you're not going to get depressed and you're not going to get excited. You're going to get both. But how do you handle it?
Yes. Exactly right. Yeah.
So with the tremoring, I also feel that the more better filters I get, the more have been able to release the old patterns, the old traumas that's been stored. And I'm able to use it even more and more for the thing that's right now.
Mm-hmm.
The stress of sitting in front of a computer, the stress of answering emails, the getting too late to work.
Yeah.
Because the nervous system, like I said, goes up and down during the day.
Right.
So it's been really effective for that everyday stress.
Yeah.
But like I said, in the a lady that I talked to the other day, that combine that with getting better filters.
Right.
Because then you really can make huge changes, you know?
Yeah.
Because you talked to my husband the other day, and he told me something about it. And then he said that you talked about that trauma or thought patterns or belief system they can store in the body, right?
Right.
And when you release them, it's getting easier to change them in the mind.
Yes. Right.
So for me, when then Jason asked me the questions, so do you believe this? Then I can go, no, you do, I don't.
Right.
But because of the emotional, the tension, the body has been released, I don't have a shit fit because he mentioned, I don't know, the army or napkins or whatever it's going to be.
Whatever the trigger.
Wherever the trigger is going to be.
Yeah.
Red softballs.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
I can go, I think I can choose to not be afraid of red softballs anymore.
Right.
Not that she ever was. She's a beast. Yeah.
I'm afraid of red softballs.
Marit is afraid of mice.
Oh, yes, I am.
She will,
I'm
yes.
terrified.
Yeah, that's still the thing. She's not afraid of men with guns. She's not afraid of fighting for world championships. But if there's a mouse, she's on a chair.
It has happened.
Yes.
Jason was taking a mouse out from it was caught in its tail, and I just slammed the door and ran and howled. And he's like, what's going on? I'm like, it's a mouse. And then I go down and hide.
Poor little cutie.
And Jason is saving it, of course, because he's the animal lover for all time. And he's following me with this mouse.
I was actually not following her.
Yes, you were.
I was moving towards the door, and she kept backing up towards the door.
Well,
I was trying to take it out.
It was the wrong door.
Yeah.
No. And I can see it at the same time that, oh my God, I'm being such a child. I'm behaving like this stereotypical woman in videos, but I can't freaking help it because he's coming towards me with that thing, and it can move super quick.
Yeah. Well,
I should have done theory after that because my nervous system was up. It was an all-time high.
Man, could I tell a David Berceli story?
Sure.
Okay. Since I have you here, I talk about you all the time. So
we always enjoy story time with Jason.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, we were having dinner, you and I and Steve, in a restaurant in Oslo. And you brought up this really beautiful thing. I always kind of wonder, okay, how do I know if I'm doing TRE and I kind of gotten where I should be with TRE? Like, there's always a thing, you eat some medicine and there's a dose of medicine that's good. And then you kind of either don't get more good from that dose or from increasing the dose, or you get a bad effect. So I was wondering, this whole TRE thing, can you do too much, or how do you know when you are kind of getting the effect that you can get, or that it's enough? And you said something really beautiful. You said, Jason, I don't look at humans as humans. I look at humans as organisms. And there's only one thing that's 100% sure, and that is sooner or later, every organism on the planet will be traumatized. Mm-hmm. And the natural ability, the inborn ability that you have as an organism, because all organisms get traumatized, is to be working with that trauma to release that trauma. Mm-hmm. And when you can enjoy your life, when you come back to that state of homeostasis, psychologically, emotionally, and physically, that you are living a full life of love and not anticipating the next trauma, that you've released it enough to live your life, then you know that you're in that place that you're good. But if the trauma were to come, you again have the mechanism to clean that out again.
Right.
And I just thought that was such a beautiful picture.
Yeah. Yeah. It's lovely to know that we're in an organism that's designed to live on this planet with all the experiences, what we call good or bad on this planet. We're still designed to interact with them, survive them, find growth from the experience of them. We're just nothing but one more living organism on the planet. And if we can accept that and accept that, wow, we're actually designed to kind of really negotiate and navigate this experience of being human. And so if I've got all that genetic encoding in me, I'm kind of safe.
Yeah.
You know?
And it's so fascinating, especially in today's society, because it almost looks like we're not born to handle this life.
Right.
Because everything's triggering, and you need trigger warnings on everything. And
Oh my God.
I'm a unicorn, and
Right.
I'm special.
And that's because we've so dissociated and numbed ourselves from our bodies, as well as, in a sense, our psyches, because neurophysiology is not separate. The human organism does not separate brain and body. We did it in medical science to research it, but the human organism doesn't know we did that.
Exactly.
It still
Huh?
functions
No?
as one whole unit.
It
you
does.
know? And so that's the whole point, is when we're designed to do that or to be that way, it's almost like it does take away the fear and say, I might not like what is going to happen to me tomorrow, so who knows what is going to happen, but I know I'll be able to deal with it.
Yeah.
See? And so then it's like it makes it easier to live life. And so for those people, and I know there's a lot of people who say, well, yes, I live fear and I have anxiety, but I don't want to tremor or I don't want to shake. I don't like it. Well, that's the current narrative, because the reason I fear and anxiety, I have to control something, because something in my past I was not in control of, and it took advantage of me or shocked me or surprised me. And so now we don't want to let go of that control. And the feeling, at least when people listen to it, they say, no, I'm not going to tremor because that's letting go of control. And so what I like to tell people is, okay, really you are actually in control of an out of control experience.
Yes.
See, and so there's a paradox there, which again is being human. There's a paradox that you can stop the tremor anytime you want. See, so you can override it with cortex, but you can also let go into the tremor anytime you want by not having the cortex control it. So giving back into the more primitive parts of the brain.
So you're actually controlling it without controlling it.
Yes,
You're saying,
but
now I'm controlling to let go of control.
Exactly
Lost
right.
control people. And
But-
now I'm controlling to stop it.
Yeah,
because-
and so I like to tell people, you're safe because you can stop this anytime you want. That's not our problem. Our problem is trying to help people learn how to elicit it and let go and give into it, to let it guide us into a healthier state is its ultimate goal. It doesn't know anything more than that. All it knows is seek out tight patterns of tension in the body and get rid of them because they're killing me. You don't understand it. Those tight patterns in our body are slowly killing the living organism. And it's designed to generate its own life, see? And so it's saying, well, I don't need this one. I don't need that one. That was from 6 years ago. I can get rid of this one, which is connected to that one. And that's all it does. It systematically goes through the structure, finding what it is no longer helping it.
Yeah.
And doesn't need it, and it lets it go. Now, what I found, particularly in working with soldiers, is because they don't like telling their story. They'll tell me, I don't want to talk to you. I don't want to tell you what I did.
I'm not
what happened."
traumatized.
I'm not
Yeah.
traumatized.
Exactly right. They don't
Never
wanna
said that.
Yeah. And sometimes we don't tell the truth.
Right. So anyways, they were very good at helping me understand. So I would just say to them, okay, we're just going to do exercise. And what was amazing was that they would try, and they liked that. Exercise is simple for a soldier. That's a common word. They feel comfortable with that. I'm not going to talk to you. We're just going to do exercise. So when they activate the tremor mechanism, first of all, they're surprised like most people are. But if I'm watching their body, I can see where there might be an injury or a pattern that's embedded itself in the structure. So that means they're repeating something over and over. So that's like holding their rifle or jumping out of an airplane. They might have injured their hip or their knee or something like that. And I can point it out, and I'll say, all right, I noticed that your right hip is moving different than your left hip. Now, I know it shouldn't do that. It should have symmetry. They should both move the same. So I said there's some sort of injury or obstruction in the myofascial patterns, the muscle in the body. I said, you don't have to tell me what that is, but does that make sense to you that your right hip is different than your left? They're, first of all, stunned that I could see it.
Psychic David.
It's kind of easy since the tremor mechanism is showing it to us. So I can see it. And so then they'll say, yes, that makes sense. But I won't ask them the story. But when that starts to release, and I can say, oh, look, your body's already figuring out how to get it out. And if it releases it there, I'll say, look at that. Your body doesn't want that story any longer. Now, what happened, which is really interesting, is that the physiological component of the neurological or psychological story, the physiological component let go. And so it's signaling to the brain, we don't need that story anymore either. We don't need the emotion that goes with that story anymore. Let it go. So it heals or resolves its own neurophysiology and can actually create new neural pathways that don't keep replaying the story. And so then they'll look at me with complete ease and they'll say, do you know what happened to me? And I say, no, what happened? And they tell me the story. The emotional content is gone. There's no psychological residual issue around it because the pattern no longer exists. So the story then becomes a story of the past, not a story of anything present. The present story is you just healed. So I'm not asking them about the past. I'm saying your body just healed whatever it is that it experienced 2 years ago. See? And so your body just healed it. There you go. And I don't ask for the story, but they offer the story because the emotional content.
They're now able to actually speak about it without getting the, like you said, the chronic.
Exactly right.
Yeah.
It's no longer locked away.
Exactly right.
That's it.
It's
freed
actually, yes, it's freed up, resolved itself, and now they have access to the story without the old pattern replaying the story. So I'm not really taking them back into the past, which is what we would do in counseling. Tell me about that story.
They
what
don't need
happened.
how did that make you feel?
Right, exactly right.
We don't care about that.
Which is clearly re-traumatizing for particularly soldiers. I've seen it many, many times. And so I don't ask them about the past. I just tell them right now, your body's healing whatever that was in your right hip.
Good job.
You're doing good. So just relax, let it heal, nothing to do. So I'm bringing that story into the present moment and telling them whether you thought about it or whether you even remembered or not, your body just healed it. Exactly. So there you go. You're good to go. Well, that's huge for a soldier.
Oh, yeah.
You know,
it's amazing.
I usually see it. This is usually on the courses that we have. You see it in trainings as well. We have group trainings, like we mentioned in the beginning with Siv. But we do have group courses in this. And what I usually, where we have, the setup is that we have an hour or something like that with, okay, what is this? This is what you're going to learn. This is what it is. And kind of go deeper into this is your...
neurophysiology.
This is your inborn thing.
Yeah.
You got this.
Yeah.
You're safe. And then we do a round of tremoring. We have a break and we do a second round of tremoring because we don't want them to lock into the thought that this is how I need to do it.
Right.
Because usually the second time is different because it's alive. You know, it's a living organism. It's not like lifting deadlift. Deadlifts has a pattern. It's the way it should be. The bone structure should be like this to not put too much pressure on the joint. It's really repetitive.
right.
But the tremoring is not. But what I see after the second round especially is that their faces changes.
Yes.
Every time.
Yes.
They become more beautiful.
And
it's
I
amazing.
don't usually as we have because people always ask me, so why do you speak in English so much? Because all of this development stuff is speaking English. I say, well, because we have the Norwegian language lack the words, but it's a word in Norwegian that I can't find in English that covers that what I see in people's faces after, especially the courses, because it's kind of just a new world opening up, and that is salig.
Yeah, it's kind of like when you've you've had this religious experience and you're just sitting in the afterglow.
And
it's like an afterglow, but it's
the
like,
tension,
Yeah.
and it's not the first round; it's the second round.
Yeah.
And their tension in the whole face is released. They're relaxed. They look much more beautiful.
Yes.
They don't have to smile. It's not about. They're just relaxed, and they're having a light around them that they didn't have when they came in. And for me, to do the courses, just that feeling after the courses when you see people, Siv takes them out and
they're so beautiful.
Then you can just see there you are.
Yeah.
And we talked about that in Sweden. You start to, because we went to this ecstatic festival. There's a lot of stuff happening there.
Right.
A lot of identities and a lot of people playing roles as different characters of the universe. But you said that, because some of these people went to all 3 sessions.
Right.
We had to kick
With
people with us, with all the tremoring sessions and the soma breath. And we had to coast on every time.
Right.
And so not all of the people that could and wanted to, or not all the people that wanted to could attend.
Right.
But it's kind of like we started to see who they were. And they were so much more beautiful than who they played.
Yes. Yes. When you get... It's very cool. You mentioned a number of things are very accurate. The first time, they're afraid they're not going to tremor, or they're afraid they are going to tremor sometimes, and they want to control it, and they don't know if it's going to work for me, and they're scared about performance, etc. So the first time is about just experiencing it and letting go of those fears that they've made up in their mind. The second time, they know I just tremored. It was safe. I kind of enjoyed it. I want to see what it feels like if I just give in to it. And then that's when they can go deeper. And then that's when you see the face soften and the eyes get brighter as well.
Exactly.
So I see that all the time because they actually touch in just 2 simple sessions a deeper part of themselves than they've allowed themselves to feel for sometimes a very long time. They don't know that, of course. And so it's in one way effortless. They just open themselves up, and the tremor mechanism is what brought them down to their deeper self. Not me as a psychologist or, any type of words or anything like that. The tremor mechanism takes them deeper. So now their own being is exploring their own being.
For the first time, maybe
For the first
ever.
time, sometimes forever, yeah.
That's it. Question, Marit. When you get a massage, right?
I love getting
massages.
One of the things I do when I have vacation,
Yeah.
I book like 4 massages.
Right.
Went to a vacation last year. Like, you here again? I'm like, yeah.
Yep, we're here. Yeah,
Every day.
I love getting rubbed and scrubbed.
Yeah,
Yes,
that's it.
when I get
But
massages.
you get a massage, right?
Yes.
How long does it take before you're tight again?
I don't want to answer that. I just said I have 1 massage a day. I
Yeah,
think
but-
that's kind of
yeah, but-
answered that question.
Yeah, exactly. but seriously, like, it doesn't take that long, right?
Yeah, I don't. I do it. It doesn't for me. A massage, if it's not kind of an acute thing that rub this out, it doesn't do anything.
Exactly.
I just like getting pressured, like
Right.
the
Yeah.
pressure of
Yeah.
the structure, as it's called.
Exactly. Pressure in the structure.
I like the pressure
Yes.
and the contact of the skin, because
Yes.
that's what I'm used to from jiu-jitsu. I like that pressure.
Right.
So I find it nice, but it doesn't do anything
No.
other than comfort of the mind and
Yeah.
soul.
And that's a little bit the point here, guys, because in the integrated human, we work up, down, inside out. But the result that we want is a clear mind, a heart that's filled with unconditional love, and a body that is ready to respond. If you have that integration, then you know that you are in true homeostasis. You are in a fullness of homeostasis. So when you have tension patterns in your body, they are in general, sometimes they are structural, and then you go to a chiropractor, or if there may be an imbalance in your musculature, and then you train. But most of the tension patterns that you have are actually spiritual, psychological, emotional results that basically create these patterns in your body. And once you've practiced that emotional state, that mental state over and over and over, they create lasting structural limitations or structural patterns in your body that may not be so easy just to rub out.
Yeah.
And you have to use something else that's more subtle, that's more primal, like a mechanism that stimulates the brainstem, like tension releasing exercises. And you get the neurogenic tremor moving through it to change the fascia and the musculature. When you change the mind, you change the body. And it can happen as quickly as 2 sessions of TRE, 2 sessions of neurogenic integration, guys. Think about that. Think about how amazing that is.
Yeah, because I was fortunate enough to have a one-on-one with you. I had viewers.
Yeah.
Like you having a one-on-one or people watching.
Right.
But
Yeah, we got to learn from the master. Come on now.
You learn so much from just watching you explain what you see, because I don't know how many thousands of people you taught. But my flexibility in the shoulder that I've injured, it's much more movable after one session.
Yeah.
Right.
It's insane.
Yeah.
It's very fascinating.
Absolutely.
Now the other one is a little bit miffed because it's not as flexible as the one that was bad. So it's going, hey, like, what about me?
Exactly. And if you go to David Berceli's Instagram or his TikTok.
He is on TikTok.
He's
We're
on
not.
TikTok. We're
but
like,
David Berceli is on TikTok.
He's on TikTok. But if you go to his social media and you look at the video where I was tremoring with his guidance, and now I'm a TRE provider and I've been doing TRE for 15 years, but I also had a horrible injury in lifting for a world championship in jiu-jitsu, and I broke my hip and shattered the cartilage. So I had to have a hip resurfacing operation. And now I'm in rehabilitation, and we're using TRE to reintegrate the hip into the organism.
Right.
I'm getting the pattern of the operation and of the dislocation that they had to do and the cutting and the healing away so that I can reintegrate my nervous system to the muscles. So you can go there and you can watch it. I encourage you guys to see, number one, that Jason Shields, Marit Albertson, and Steve Shields do the work, that we participate in the things that we teach. That's number one. Number two, you get to see me shake and tremor, which is kind of cool. And you see the masterful guidance that David Berceli gives when we're working through the organism. And you can actually see my hip come to life and see my body work around that area of operation. So how valuable is that? How valuable is that to see in just one session a huge change in integration and aliveness?
What I think is happening, because I'm also a licensed massage therapist, so I gave lots of massages and things like that. And it was the same thing. Excuse me, I can massage somebody and within hours sometimes the tension is back again for people, because what I think how I think it's different, the tremor mechanism actually works from the inside of the structure outside, whereas as a massage therapist, I'm working from the outside in. But I'm also pushing on a muscle pattern that might not be able to release. I'm artificially pushing on it, so I force its release, but it's connected to a whole series of other muscle patterns that maybe they need to release somewhere else before the shoulder can release. So it might be the back or the diaphragm or the hip or even the knee sometimes needs to be released before the shoulder can release. So it's like the tremor mechanism knows how to systematically produce its own multi-layered release, because it knows where's the starting point, what needs to release next, that for us visually observing could be completely disconnected, but inside the human body, it's directly connected because it can't make a mistake. The tremor mechanism can only follow the structure that's inside. So it's always 100% correct.
That was one of the things I saw when we were working on us, that was the repetitive thing. you kind of could see all the way in the beginning where it wanted to go. It wants to go there.
Yeah.
But it can't. So it went somewhere else and it started working there. And then it tried again. And then like, nope, not ready. And then it find the second part and just stopped. It released that and it tried again. Like, is the door open? No, it's not open yet. It found the third place. Work that out. Is it open? Yes, now it's open. And then it went into that part that you kind of all the way in the beginning saw that the tremoring wanted to go to, but were not able to.
Yeah.
And it could be, it's very interesting because it could be done in the knee almost.
Right.
And then it's actually with the shoulder it wants to go to, but you have to go all the way down to the knee. But that makes sense. Like you said, the pulling down pattern goes from the shoulders to the knees.
Right, exactly. No, that was really great. And we'll be putting your video up there too as soon as I edit it. But you're right. It was systematic and it was repetitive. You could see what it was trying to do. And it just systematically kept working all of the different muscle and fascia patterns until it got to its goal. But it's designed to do that. So in one sense, it's always going to be 100% successful. For that session. That does not mean it's 100% successful in the sense that you do it one time and you're completely relaxed. You're relaxed for what the body can do with the tremor mechanism given the state the body is in that session. But it does also create permanent change, different from my massage, which creates temporary change.
Yes.
See, so the body can permanently release very old tension patterns that are completely gone. They no longer exist inside the body because the old tension pattern, first of all, it released, but then it integrated into healthier tissue that was around it, and so it no longer exists.
Yes.
It was very good. It was very, very deep and very nice session. And then to always go in with an intention of discovering. So what does it want to discover today?
Yeah.
And having this seen as an observer, not a controller.
Yes. And curiosity.
Curiosity. Well, he has that.
Yes, he does.
But I do have a question because I said people usually are afraid of them not being able to. That's one. But then you have the opposite. The people that are terrified that they will be very able.
Right.
Very able.
Right.
They're afraid of... because that's kind of the two afraids I have. So we answered one of them.
Right.
But people are also afraid, but what if I feel something? What if they're afraid of losing control, basically.
Yes,
and having a big emotional, usually it's a big and emotional eruption.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like
Eruption.
A release that that I assume their fear is to be judged for it.
Right.
I haven't asked
People
that direct.
don't want to lose their shit.
Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah.
What do we say to them?
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the whole pleasure of being able to say to them, okay, we're going to activate the tremor mechanism. There's 30 of you in the room. All of you will activate it, but all of you have different reactions according to the histories that you've been through in life. And so if there's a strong emotion that starts to release, there's two things really powerful about it. First one is the body's ready to release it.
Exactly.
Now the psyche may not be ready to release it, okay? And so then I say, okay, now you can exercise control and stop it.
Yeah.
See, so stop the tremoring, roll over to your side or sit up or get a drink of water or tea or something, and you can stop it. And then in 2 weeks from now, you can go back to it again and take little pieces at a time of whatever this big emotional release is. So you do it in a way that you feel comfortable because everybody knows I need to get that out. I don't like it and I don't want to do it. So I say, well, what if you just took a little bit of medicine every day instead of drinking a whole bottle of medicine, as an example?
Because usually this is
like.
people that have a big, usually emotional pattern.
Yeah.
Big traumas happen.
And they can control that, meaning they can regulate the amount of the discharge. And that way, again, they are in control of an out-of-control experience. Because even we as human beings, we're trained to constantly be in control. Yeah. See, and we judge ourselves and we have fear around letting go of control. But as a pulsating living organism, it both needs us to let go of control and it needs us to control it. There are times in our lives where we do have to control. but they should be balanced. I should be able to control when I need to, and I should be able to let go of control when I need to. And can I fluidly move back and forth between those two experiences? And so that would be people, if they're afraid to tremor, don't worry, you can control it. People who are not afraid of tremoring, or people who don't think they're going to tremor, don't worry, your body's going to tremor.
For you, yeah.
So in a sense, comforting both of them to say, you're going to be in control of this, and you're going to be out of control of this, and you can fluidly move back and forth between those two states.
And that's an important aspect of neurogenic integration. Neurogenic integration. It's not a neurogenic blowout. and people often think that more must be better. It's good music. Turn the volume up so that your eardrums explode, right?
Yeah.
So people who have a larger emotional range will also have a larger ability to express without being re-traumatized, but actually just getting it out, maybe just retracing the trauma. But when you're using a neuroenergetic or neurogenic integration technique like trauma releasing exercises or tension releasing exercises, very often that when those trauma patterns reintegrate into the surrounding tissues, like David was saying, the release is gentle. The release is subtle. The release is sweet. It doesn't have to be an earthquake.
And you do not know what is releasing.
Yes.
Right.
You can think it's the trauma from your childhood, but it was the coffee spill this morning.
Right.
Or
Opposite.
the experience in Iraq,
Right.
and something
never
else.
know.
You never know
Yeah.
because it's not important. It's just the balancing that's important.
Many people release a lot of very deep trauma, and you can see the patterns, and they're objectively right there saying, I can feel this. I sense it. I can even see it happening in my leg. I have no idea what it's from.
Yeah. That's
See,
it.
so there are a lot of injuries
Like it's
that,
doing like it's
Exactly.
waving to you. I mean,
that
going.
the organism is holding on to,
Yeah.
that you no longer have any recollection of it at all. But the organism still has the pattern there, and it's saying, I want this out.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because it's not helping me.
Yeah.
And see, so it's kind of a delightful, once you get used to it, it's a delightful exploration of your inner body.
Yeah. That's it.
You get to literally feel inside you in a way that most people have never felt before. And they say, what is this? And it feels pleasurable. I love it when I talk to children, and this is children all over the world actually, when I teach them this, and they'll sit up and I'll say, did you feel shaking? And they'll say, yes, I felt it. I said, what did it feel like? And the word, and this is in many different countries, they'll say, it tickled.
Yeah.
It tickled.
It tickled my body. And that's an adorable word to say. It was pleasurable and kind of funny, but kind of nice. And I don't have any other word to describe it.
Tickling
And
is
so-
it's actually a
but
perfect
It's
description.
a wonderful word. I loved it. So it's like, yes, let's tickle our bodies from the inside.
That's it.
And so children, listen, if children can do this and they have no fear around it at all, they find it exploratory in a sense, they're the best ones to work with because they just lay there and let it happen and
Don't ask the questions.
let their body feel tickled. Then when they're done, they just either fall asleep or they start to giggle and talk to their friends like nothing happened. They just received it and accepted it and as natural.
It's natural.
And then they move on with life.
That's
it. Adults need to learn that behavior again.
And then the organism just keeps on rolling.
Yes, exactly right.
That's it.
But that's how we use it a lot, is to integrate like with the, you said it's inside out.
Yes, yes.
Inside out, inside out, inside out. But we usually take outside in. You take the medication, you drink alcohol to numb it instead of
Right.
just letting the body just release it, which
Yeah.
will give you euphoria, will give you peace, it will give you like your feeling of safety.
Exactly right.
But that bottle of alcohol just triggers more anxiety
Right.
and
Right.
hammers the body,
Right.
Absolutely. Punishes your body.
punishes. So
See,
inside out.
Yeah. Even
Yeah.
the first time you experienced TRE, you may have heard all the theory about it, and you've certainly had judgments about it before you
Oh,
did
big
it.
time.
Right. But when you experience it, is so organic and natural to the body that the ego actually gets confused. It's like, what is this? But yet it feels pleasurable. it feels natural, but I've never felt it before. And so it's sort of a little confusion with the ego, saying, what's the body doing? But the body's sending very strong messages up to the brain and to the ego. I need this. This is pleasurable. It's going to make me healthier. And always the body will win that discussion with the ego. Am I doing it? Am I doing it right? Etc. The body wins because it is doing it ultimately. Yes. And it does feel pleasure. And once the body starts to send signals of pleasure to the brain, the ego starts to let go.
Yes.
See, because it's afraid of pain.
Yeah.
And so it will hold on if it's painful. But when this is what happens in the second session with a lot of people, the ego has let go a little bit because I survived it. I did it well. I'm okay. Let me see more.
It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad. Exactly. So the ego lets go. And now the nervous system has almost full permission to start exploring and resolving tension patterns inside itself.
Yeah, and one thing you said about the people in Ängsbacher that you observed when we were giving the sessions there and Steve was leading, it was that all of the people who participated were ready to do it again. They wanted to show up for the next session.
Yes.
They wanted to do it again. And that's the thing, that when you contact yourself, you want that contact. That feeling is beautiful.
We all want that. That's the ultimate of what we strive for, is to really be deeply connected inside ourselves, because that's our deepest sense of pleasure and safety.
Yes.
Those come together. When I feel safe, I can enjoy pleasure. And I even had this experience even several years later when I went back in war, and I was still living in war, but I felt much, much safer. I felt not that I wouldn't be hit by a bomb or a bullet, but I was going to be able to survive whatever I went through. Yeah. My body could pulsate through it. I was going to be okay. And it sort of took away that fear of what's it going to do to me.
Yeah, you knew no matter about how much stress that was put on you, you would be able to take it.
My body already knew how to do it. And I had activated the mechanism, so I was able to use it then and say, okay, here we go. Every night, every 15 minutes, every 2 hours, we're going to just do this, and we're going to regulate this experience.
It's tested in war by David Berceli.
Yes, that's right.
Stamp on it.
Bam.
Right, there you go.
Yes.
But then, because we're having a long podcast today,
yes.
So we're getting to the end here.
All right.
But we are having a course in this now in September here in Vals, 24th of September. And then you're going to get the two deep sessions. We're also having an event in Munich, Germany, in October, the 26th of
Called
October.
A Taste of Flow.
A Taste of Flow.
Yeah.
Because what this does for you is that it helps you create, because you take away the old patterns, the all tensions in your body. Well, that makes it easier for you to stay present, stay focused, and have the flow in your life that we think you deserve. So
that's it. So if you want to learn these techniques, show up, friends.
There are at least availability for you there. They're also going to drop that in here. If you want to read Dr. Berceli's book, you're going to get the link down here in the bio.
Books with a big S. Yes. Three books.
4 in the making.
Fourth in the making.
Yes, I'm going to write a chapter in it, and I'm proud of it. It's going to be great.
Thank you so much for being with us today.
Thank you, David, for being here. You're amazing.
Thank you both very much.
I'm so honored that you visited us, and so honored to be able to sit and speak with you and show you the work that we've been doing and how we've been helping people with the technique that you shared with us.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
It's been very special to spend 2 weeks with you. You're going to be here for one more week. I'm very excited about what's going to happen the next week. But it's not often you get to be with the founder of something this profound and this powerful. So thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it, guys.
Thank you for coming.
Very much.
So remember, you matter. Unless you multiply yourself by the speed of light squared, then you're energy. But if you can't be energy, matter.
Thank you for listening to our podcast. We hope you felt we added something to your day and hopefully your life. If you want to learn more, subscribe to our newsletter and find us at integrated-human.com. That is integrated-human.com. Integrated Human on YouTube and other social media platforms. Have a great day, and thank you again for listening. Love, light, and upgrade from us at the Integrated Human team.